Monday, April 26th, 2021, and the situation in India is becoming more and more dire even as we speak. At the end of India's Monday, the country had recorded in excess of 350,000 coronavirus cases, and that was for the fifth day in a row. The situation is so bad now that people have turned to the black market. So, as you can imagine, the price of oxygen is skyrocketing, and questionable drugs are now proliferating. We Indians abroad outside of India are more than shocked, but shocked is one thing. We are sort of at a loss for what we can do, how we can help. What do you do from this far away? So I took it upon myself to speak with Kanika Mediratta. She and her husband Rohit have put together an initiative called COVID Relief India, and they are specifically identifying and sourcing oxygen in other parts of the world and working on shipping them to hospitals in need in India. They have a GoFundMe campaign going. I began to disseminate that through my circles, and a lot of people actually donated. I had a handful of people who asked me, well, is this legit? How do we know that this is legit? There are a lot of fake GoFundMe campaigns out there. And I thought that was a good question because they're absolutely right. How do you know what is legit and what isn't? So I took it upon myself to contact Kanika and ask her about this initiative and the wonderful work that they are doing. So here is Kanika Mediratta. In her normal world, she is a financial executive with First Republic, but today I speak to her in an entirely different context.
I'm a head of digital payments at First Republic Bank in the Bay Area. I've been with them for about 6.5 years. Prior to that, I was a consultant with PricewaterhouseCoopers. Been in consulting for about 12 odd years before that.
So you live in Palo Alto, but I think you hail from Delhi, from New Delhi, right? And you have put together this initiative in the last few days for COVID relief in India. So tell us about this initiative.
Sure. So I'm sure most of your viewers are aware, right? India's recorded over 1 million COVID cases just in the last 3 days. Right? Hospitals are running out of beds, are running out of oxygen. Every day we hear news about patients not getting admitted, even though they require critical care, or in some cases, patients being sent home from facilities because they've run out of oxygen. Thankfully, my parents and my in-laws who are in Delhi so far, touch wood, are healthy and safe. But it would not be an exaggeration to say that every day we're told of somebody who has passed away from COVID, or a family that has been impacted, and severely so. Right, so it's touching all parts of our lives. Every few minutes, my husband and I get a text saying, "Do you have any access to oxygen?" And my brother-in-law is a doctor. He is a neurosurgeon in Apollo Hospital, so we get a lot of the on-the-ground reality from him, which prompted Rohit and I to say, "Look, we're far away. We're feeling helpless, but there has to be something we can do." Right? So we started off. We're not part of any organization. We haven't really done this in the past, but we wanted to do something. So we started looking around, and we found oxygen concentrators that could be procured from various suppliers in China, amongst other places, that could provide capacity while our governments can increase liquid oxygen, right? Especially in Delhi, but also all across India.
So I'd love to dig into this a little bit. Of course, we were on a call yesterday in the morning with the In Diaspora team, which, for those of you who don't know what that is, it's a wonderful community organization. And the specific objective of that call was to put together or brainstorm ideas to put together a series of either task forces or identify things that were needed in the short term and the long term. Right? That's when I learned about your specific initiative, and I did send your link out, and I did have a lot of people who actually said that they contributed to your GoFundMe campaign, which I'm going to ask about in a sec. But then I also had a whole lot of others who said, well, how do you know this is legit? And, there's all sorts of confusion and talk going around. And yes, there are needs for oxygen, but the concentrators are not available. So I'd love it if you could just take me through that
Sure.
and, not the whole big picture, but specifically with what you guys are doing and how you are getting that oxygen to those in need.
Sure. So, like I said, we're individuals, right? So we ended up identifying a few nonprofit organizations. So one that we partnered with early on was Save Life Foundation, that is based out of Delhi, working with the Delhi government. And we said, we don't have other partners, we don't know a lot of people, let's start. So that's where we initiated the GoFundMe campaign in partnership with them. We identified a supplier with manufacturing facilities in China. And that was part of our deal. I didn't want to raise money if I couldn't do anything with it. And we have at this point procured 224 units of 5-liter oxygen concentrators from her we're working on figuring out the shipment at this point because commercial flights just got canceled on us last night. But we're trying to get them to India in the first week of May. So that's a commitment that we already have. As we're raising additional funds, either through the GoFundMe campaign, but we've also partnered with Seva International, which has a big presence in the US, and an employee match program. That we're continuing to expand that list of suppliers and see where else we can procure either 10 liters, which is more the hospital need, right? And on the ground, we're being told that's what a critical patient requires, that level of flow of oxygen per minute. And in some cases, 5 liters, right? Nursing homes, smaller units, which are saying, look, before somebody needs to go to an ICU, if we can provide them with a oxygen concentrator, which would help them from reaching that stage or prevent them from reaching that stage, we'll take 5 liters. Right now, there's no oxygen. So something is better than nothing.
When you say you have partnered with Seva, in what capacity have you partnered with them?
So there are 4 areas, right, that I think, to be honest, everybody is trying to focus on because there's no good answer. I will tell you fundraising is important, but we think fundraising is achievable, right? The big push, two areas right now that are our focus is identifying suppliers that have capacity to produce very quickly, because if I can get an end of May delivery date, that doesn't help me, right? I am looking for delivery to India in the next 10 days. So if we can find suppliers, it's in Israel, it's in US, it's in anywhere in the world, right? If we can identify those, we're trying to secure that shipment, right? A lot of them are trying to scale. A lot of them are asking for funds ahead of time, right? Because there's a lot of demand to secure those shipments for India. And there's a lot of verification and certification, like we're trusting a lot of money that our donors have given us. So we want to do our due diligence before I give you $100,000. So that's one. The second one that we are working through, especially as I mentioned, commercial flights from China got halted last night, is working through how would we get that shipment from China at this point, but also from the US in some cases, to India, right? And a cost-effective and the most efficient, quickest route we can find, so that they can get it to the hospitals, the service centers, the field hospitals that the governments are setting up, right? So that's my second, honestly, that's what I've been working on for the last couple of hours, is talking to anybody with logistics in part of their supply chain, with potentially manufacturing facilities in China, to beg, borrow, plead, offer to pay, to see if we can get chartered flights. Seva is doing the same thing, right? We're all using our networks. We're all looking up, people of Asian descent in high up places, and doing cold calls or calling in favors, because we're desperate. And it's every hour we lose is it's not just one life, it's many lives lost.
So where in China, which part of China, is this oxygen coming from? Where are you looking for the help specifically?
Okay, there are two cities, Shenyang and Foshan. And if somebody who's listening has contacts in the logistics or air shipment facilities, please do reach out. But those are the two areas that we currently have manufacturing facilities in. The supplier that we're working with can figure out a way to get it to Shanghai, or figure out a way to get it to a bigger airport. We are talking to delivery. We know they have a flight out of Shanghai. We're trying to see if we can book space on those it's one flight, right? We're trying to see if they can add more. But if there are other leads, that will be very useful at this point.
And is it likely, given the fact that commercial flights have been canceled, that you will be able to be successful?
Rita, I know is not something that is in my vocabulary. I think there has to be a way, right? People have private jets. People, there's some way that product is reaching India. How do our iPhones get there? How do our GE supplies get there, right? We get a lot of supply from China, right? A lot of our big corporations in the US source from China, right? FedEx, DHL, somebody's got to be able to support this, either as a CSR initiative, or we'll raise funds, we'll pay for that chartered flight. I think right now it's just sort of sorting out where we can get access and how we can make it happen.
So for Indians on ground elsewhere, outside of those geographies, who are looking to get involved, who are looking to support, what can they do besides go to your GoFundMe campaign and fund it? Like you said, that's the first place, but that's achievable. What else can they do?
So depending on where you live, I would say look for local Indian organizations. There are a lot, right? Seva is one, API is another in the US, but there are very similar organizations in London, Singapore, and other places that are looking to do the same thing, right? So connecting with a local organization, not just for fundraising, but volunteering, right? COVID has reduced capacity considerably across all nonprofits. So volunteers are always welcome, but especially now, right? Second is the fourth part of the supply chain that we didn't talk about, and it's a distribution in India, right? So once we do get the units, let's say in the next 10 days, right? Yes, we have a partnership with the Delhi government for what we've been able to fund through Save Life, but the demand is all over India, right? As we get these units, where is the need? Who can we trust to distribute it in Ahmedabad, in Bombay, in Lucknow, in right? That every tier 2 city is reaching the same point as Delhi, right? Or will in the next couple of weeks. So identifying and creating that network. Seva does have a Seva Bharat chapter, And I believe they are trying to aggregate that information so that when supply becomes available, we can distribute it quickly, right? If I know that there's an organization that it's legitimate, it has a need and can use these units immediately, right? What we worry about is it's an individual, right, taking it for their home, or it will go into a warehouse and it will just not reach the market. So we're looking for people who can step up and coordinate that for their cities or for their regions. And if you do know of somebody like that, a doctor, a senior government official who's willing to step up and take on that role, please contact Seva Bharat, because they are looking for that, creating that list so that we can distribute these units efficiently.
Are there coordination activities or other work that could be done from home? I'm just thinking about the lockdown protocols that are existing in many places increasingly right now, and what people can do if they are like us sitting at home right now.
So a couple of things. I think right now our focus has been so much on oxygen concentrators, right? Because that's what we were told was the need on the ground. We haven't had a chance to go look at what else, right? What else can we do? What else can help, right? Ventilators, medicine, others which are harder because of export restrictions to get, but maybe, right, we can work on those and solve that as well. PPE. So I think one, sort of having that research available, and if you are looking to research, I would say, don't just say this is what's required. Figure out suppliers that have supply to be able to deliver to Delhi or Mumbai or somewhere in India in the next 7 to 10 business days. Right? Time is of the essence. So if you do have the chance to do this, I would have resources working on that. And then fundraise, right? Reach out, raise the money. We'll always figure out a way to use it. If you guys have heard, right, countries have been donating oxygen concentrators to India. The US did, UK did as well. Capacity is limited, right? What Seva and Save Life have been able to do is equal to and more than what US and UK have donated, okay? So just know these crowdfunding initiatives do make a difference. So that's the two things I have.
Why is capacity limited? Is
So
that
it's scale, right?
Scale.
It is scale, right? So the demand wasn't that high for these manufacturing plants in China. They are ramping up, right? And they're adding more lines, but it takes, for a unit to be manufacturing, it takes about 5 business days, right? 5 days. China also has a labor holiday coming up from May 1st to make probably more information that your viewers need. It's things that I've had to learn in the last 3 days. So we're trying to therefore say, okay, if not China, where else, right? That we can go to. The other thing is the units that go into that, the parts that go into that unit for oxygen compressors or concentrators. They have to source those too, right? So it's a supply chain constraint. I'm probably not equipped to go more in detail into the technical aspects of that. I do know everybody is scrambling.
And Kanika, tell us about your GoFundMe campaign. How's that going?
It's going great. We set an initial target of $100,000. It was incredible. I think we raised it in 48 hours. And today we are at about 140,000. We have 700 donors, not just from the US, but also from around the world, right? Singapore, Switzerland, UK, Middle East, India. So I think Rohit and I are humbled by the support that we have received. And that's sort of given us the courage to say, we can do more, right? And if 2 individuals sitting in their home in COVID lockdown can do more, then others can too.
So, what is the current target, and is that a finite target? Once you hit it, if you hit it, you will hit it.
Yeah.
Then what?
So that's a question Rohit and I ask every day because we do have day jobs, and I have two young kids under the age of 5,
Oh, goodness.
and we're barely sleeping. But look, I think right now I can't step away. Right, so we want to raise the 250 on GoFundMe with Seva. We're looking to raise another 150,000 with them. They have a big campaign. They have a $5 million target, and they're actually, I think, at 3 million already in funds in the main Seva campaign that's running. So we're very certain that we'll achieve those, if not today, right, soon, and we'll continue to fundraise. I think till I have confidence that things are stabilizing. I think till I am certain there's not much more value that I can add by getting on the phone, at 1 a.m. or 2 a.m. or any contacts that I have. I don't see us stopping just because if there is a difference we can make, this is the time to do it. Otherwise, I don't want to look back and say I could have spent 1 more hour, I could have spent 1 more day, and I could have saved somebody. Even one life matters. Like every life matters. If I can make a difference in one life, I'll take it.
Absolutely, Kanika. So I have put the details of your GoFundMe campaign in the caption below. I have also linked the details of your website, COVID Relief India. Is there anything that we haven't covered in this conversation, something that I should be asking you, or just something else that you want to say that is important?
The only other thing I would say is, and it's a lesson learned, we're better together versus separately. So again, as we've got a lot of questions from people who said, oh, I want to do a similar fundraiser. Can you give me more details? Or I want to do this for a certain region. Can you help contact us, right? Partnering with organizations that have the capacity, the resources, the ability to evaluate suppliers, right? Just makes us go further. Right? Doing it on our own has been tough, and it's amazing. They're so welcoming. They want our input. They want us to be involved. So it's not as if, hey, thank you for your money, step away. So I would say if you have the time, if you have the capacity, reach out to a organization around you that is focusing on helping India. They will be thankful for your participation, and whatever you're able to do will get amplified. Because if we can pool our resources together, we can get more units, we can get that FedEx plane, we can get that support we need from the big tech firms or other manufacturing, right? It's the power of all of us together that I think will help us defeat this versus us sitting individually and trying to do our little tiny bit.
And where can people reach you? Is your email address, your contact details on your website?
Yes, if you go to COVID Relief India, we've set up that website, one for a lot of information we got asked for from everybody who's reached out to us, and thank you for doing that. But there is an email there that we are monitoring and we're trying to respond to as quickly as possible.
Kanika, thank you so much. I wish you and Rohit all the best, and we're in this with you. And thank you for bringing this to the attention of the community. It's much needed.
I appreciate it, Vanita. Thank you so much for talking today to us.
That is Kanika Mediratta. She and her husband Rohit both hail from New Delhi. And I know that for a lot of us, Indians abroad, outside of India, we look to where we come from and we're very worried about the situation there. I'm constantly thinking of Mumbai and what's happening in Maharashtra, but the problem exists increasingly everywhere, the bigger cities, the tier 2 metros, and certainly the villages outside. Part of what In Diaspora is doing is also putting together ways to give direct cash relief to lower income people in India who have been hit because they've lost family members directly due to the virus. Anyway, I have put links for Kanika's initiative in the caption below, both for COVID Relief India as well as their GoFundMe campaign. I've also put a link for In Diaspora. If there's anyone out there who would like to get involved, please do reach out. Once again, I thank you for joining me today on www. Wonderful Women Doing Wonderful Things. Renita Malhotra Hora signing off here from San Francisco.